What's up guys, Jason here, Aspiring Entrepreneur, showing you the day in the life of a budding entrepreneur, and today, after 2 weeks of silence, we are back in action. Kind of. And I say kind of because my voice actually hasn't recovered fully, and from the research I've done, it doesn't look like it's going to recover fully for quite a while. And I've spent the last 2 weeks really researching and diving into how much work can we really expect to get done as entrepreneurs. And of course, that is a whole can of worms. Of course, what is considered work, what's not considered work, what do you do if work is actually fun for you and it doesn't actually drain your energy? There are a whole bunch of things on that. But what I want to do is focus on the 3 to 4 things I have right now, lessons learned from where I can point to and say, hey guys, this is what I know for a fact to be true. And I'm actually going to be changing my content strategy here on the channel and putting a much greater emphasis on productivity so that you guys don't experience this ridiculous burnout that I just went through. And you know, it's not the first time I've gone through burnout. It's not the first time I've had an internal organ not function properly because of just being overly stressful. So one of the things I want to really stress as I dive into these 3 or 4 points is that you can optimize your sleep, you can optimize your health, you know, your fitness, your nutrition, but all of those things go into making you more productive, but it doesn't extend the time that you can be productive. There is a biological ceiling with all of this, and I know there's going to be a couple people in the comments who are just going to say, I can work 50 or 70 hours a week. If that's you, great. For the rest of us normal people who actually want to be able to do this decade after decade and not burn out, these things are going to be really, really important. So number 1 was expectations versus goals. So the mistake that I made, and I'm going to be looking at my notes a lot here to stay on track, is there's a big difference between striving to achieve something and expecting to achieve something. Now, that might seem like a subtle difference, like what do you mean? What's the difference? Well, here's what I mean the difference is. When I set out my goals and I worked on my plan, I worked as if I did this, I would get result X. And there's a certain amount of truth to needing to believe in yourself, but there is an issue when it takes over and you become so focused on what you're doing that suddenly you begin to infer expectations on the actions that you're taking, as opposed to, I'm taking steps in the direction to the success that I want, as opposed to, if I take these 3 or 4 steps, if I just take these 3 or 4 steps, I'm going to get this for sure. Like, nothing is guaranteed. Your goals aren't guaranteed, even if you have the best laid plan. So that was number 1. I mistook my plans and assumptions for facts. So that's expectations versus goals. And then number 2, most importantly out of everything that I researched, is we do have a biological ceiling on how many hours we can work. Again, I'm not going to dive into what's actually work and the energy that goes into it, but we have anywhere from 32.5 to 47 hours of work a week max. That is it. That is all we get. After that, you're going to see a great deal of diminishing returns on your time. And several of the studies that I dove into, they all concluded that around that 47 to 50 hour mark, like 50 hour is the absolute max that you can work for peak productivity. Otherwise, it goes down. And then again, to those of the 2 or 3 of you who think you're working like 80 or 100-hour weeks, there's also a great deal of psychological studies that have proven time and time again, when we think we're working, 90 or 100-hour weeks, we can overestimate how much we're working as much as 10 to 18 hours a day. And I think this is something, especially culturally in the US, where we have a lot of pride on being busy. There's a great culture around, oh, I'm working X number of hours, as opposed to, well, maybe if you work 6 hours, you could get even more done than if you worked 10 or 12 hours that aren't as productive, right? And so it's kind of like running a marathon versus a sprint. And I believe the biggest difference in how many hours a week you can work has to do with the type of tasks, right? So I introduced that value ladder a couple weeks ago. I'll put it up here on screen. And what I didn't consider with this is this only answers the question of what should we be working on. However, the more $50 and $100 hour tasks you work on, the less time you're actually going to have to work. You're going to be closer to that 32 hours versus the 47, because those $50 and $100 hour tasks are much more draining. They're much more difficult. That's what makes them more valuable. Now, the third lesson learned I wanted to share with you has more to do with something that maybe it's just me as a compulsive, individual, but I found that because I had X number of hours in a day, like let's say we had 15 hours in a day, every hour that I wasn't spending building my business or working towards one of my goals, I felt like was being wasted. So I became very, very focused on how much am I getting done today and not looking at the bigger picture and falling into the sacrifice mindset where I was just going, oh, if I only sacrifice, this number of hours, this week, this month, this year, then, in the future I'll be able to ease off the gas pedal or whatever. But you know what? There's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? Like we only have one life to live. We're all running the same life race, right? And the point is you have to pace yourself because this is a really, really long race. And finally, I've committed to tracking my time. So here is a little screenshot of an Excel sheet that I put together last week. And essentially, I'm going to meticulously track how long everything takes in my day. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm limiting my workday to 6 hours. And why I'm doing this, mainly because number one, I want to see how long do things actually take, because a lot of the studies showed me that how long I think I'm working is very different than how long I'm actually working. And then number two is adding that 6 hour limit compresses down the amount of time that I have to get things done and puts a healthy level of pressure to be very effective and efficient with my time, as opposed to, I have 15 hours today and let's just kind of go and see how much we can get done. So those are kind of the 3 or 4 lessons that I learned after losing my voice for 2 weeks, completely burning out. Definitely stress and cortisol is definitely something not to be slipped under the rug or, ignored. So I hope you got some value out of this. I know it was a little scattered. I'm going to be doing a lot more research on this, and we are going to have an entire productivity series on really how to properly set goals, how to properly manage and track your time, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Thank you to all of you who actually watched this entire thing, and to those of you who left me so many nice, kind comments on the last vlog when I lost my voice. So we will be back starting this week with just 5 videos a week, not the usual 7. And of course, keep building the business you love. Take care.